OP sees that her neighbor has a picture of her own biological parents. Growing up, I was told by my adoptive parents that I was adopted at 10 months old. They're always open about it. They framed up a picture of me and my parents and placed it in my room so I would always remember them. They even tracked down their grave and took me there once every 2 years. We'll have a little picnic, and they will ask me to share my achievements with my biological parents. They didn't change my last name to theirs and allowed me to decide whether I wanted to change it, which I did in my teens. I'm now 27 years old. I'm a nurse, and I live on my own with my cat, Abu, just a few hours away from my adoptive parents. I have a neighbor, let's call her Anna. She's a marine biologist, married, and has 3 kids. We often chat when we bump into each other in the hallway, or her kids will come over to my place to play with my cat. 4 days ago, I got a knock on my door, and it was Anna. It turns out her nanny, Mia, was on her at the last minute, and was already late for a close friend's wedding. I was wondering if I could watch the kids for a couple of hours while they're gone. She asked me if I could watch them at her apartment instead, since her youngest is sleeping. I grabbed my stuff and went over next door. We played with dolls, played pretend, ordered food, and watched a movie after that. So I told the kids to keep their toys before the food arrived, and while we were at it, I saw something that made my heart drop. I saw a picture of my parents. They looked so much younger, and it was a different picture from what I had. I asked Anna's kids if they knew who these people were. They told me they had no idea who it was. My curiosity grew more and more. I texted my adoptive parents if they knew I had any siblings. They told me they were not too certain. But in the adoption profile, it stated that I'm alone and without any siblings. A few hours later, Anna got home. I was curious to know, and I couldn't wait any longer. I asked Anna who this young couple was. Anna told me it was her parents, and they passed away when she was 6. She was then raised by her aunt. I was shocked. I feel like throwing up. This can't be real. I have a sister. I went home and did some social engineering. I went on Facebook and Instagram to see what I could find. I found the profile of an old lady who I believe is the one who raised Anna. I see that she refers to Anna as her daughter, and I was looking at pictures, and I found a rather similar picture to what my adoptive parents gave me, just without me in it. I called my adoptive parents, crying and telling them what I found. They drove for hours to come to me, and when I showed them, the 3 of us cried together. They told me that I should let her know. I don't know if I should, because it seems like she doesn't know that I exist. Update, posted in the comments section. I just remembered this when I saw my own post on TikTok. Thank you all for your kind words, and I really appreciate all the encouragement. I gathered myself, and yes, I spoke to Anna. I invited her to my apartment, away from her kids, so the both of us could sit down and talk about it. I showed her the picture that I have. She's as confused as I am. I told her that we might be sisters. I could see the tears building up at the edge of her eyes. She told me she wanted to be excused. She left my apartment, and I thought that was it. For a while, there's been so much what if. What if she's a cousin? What if the baby in the photo is not me? What if there was a mix-up at the adoption home? A few minutes later, she knocked on my apartment door. She brought her laptop, a photo of her parents, and her phone. We compared our pictures, and yes, they're of the same person. I showed my birth certificate, and how I changed my last name during my teens, as well as my adoption papers. I told her that I have a birthmark on the left side of my butt cheek, and yes, she remembered. We looked at each other, and we started sobbing. She came to hug me and told me that at times she couldn't believe that I'm gone because she loves me so much. She told me how she thought I was unalive, and that broke her. She video called her aunt, the one who raised her. Let's call her Lucy. When Anna introduced me to Aunt Lucy, she looked horrified. She even asked if Anna got mixed up because she was pretty sure I was unalive. We showed her my birth certificate and all the adoption documents, and once she saw there was evidence, she started crying and kept on apologizing. Aunt Lucy was hesitating at first, but we told her how we deserved to know the truth. So here goes the side of the story that I never knew. Firstly, my parents passed away in 2 separate accidents. My mom and I met in an accident first. I was fine, but my mom suffered multiple injuries. And when my father got to know, he rushed to the hospital to meet her, but he lost control of his car and crashed onto the road divider. Both passed away at the same hospital, just minutes apart. She was then told that I had unalive too. My sister got sick shortly after my parents' passing and couldn't attend the funeral. My parents were well-to-do. My dad was a marine biologist, just like Anna, and my mom was a general surgeon. We have an uncle, let's call him John. So apparently, Aunt Lucy and Uncle John needed money. Aunt Lucy has lots of kids, hence, she couldn't afford to raise both of us, while Uncle John and his wife were into traveling and could use some money for their adventures. I have no idea how, but somehow, they managed to get whatever our parents left us and split it into 2. I was given to Uncle John, but he must have placed me at an adoption home and then fled the country. All this while, Aunt Lucy knew about me and how I was placed at an adoption home, but she chose to keep quiet. A few years after I was sent to the adoption home, Uncle John and his wife came back to the nursing home to get me back, but they learned that I was already adopted. It's sad to learn his motives were to receive government reimbursement while I was under their foster care. I felt extremely lucky to be adopted by a family who loved, cared for, and raised me like their own. My adoptive parents were a mature couple when they adopted me. They tried to conceive for so many years, but it failed, and so it resulted in me being adopted. And they told me it was the best decision they'd ever made. Anna is not speaking to Aunt Lucy now. She told me how she felt betrayed and deceived, all this while denying a sibling love just for her own personal gain. She's even looking into taking legal action against both of them. Me and Anna embraced for a long time. There's a lot to catch up on, and I'm excited that I'm an aunt to 3 beautiful kids. The feeling is foreign, but the feeling of being loved by a sibling is beyond words. Thank you all for your time. Second story. I told my girlfriend to get out of my house because of what she called my daughter. I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years, but she only moved in with me 6 months ago. I'm a widower, so I wanted to make sure that our relationship was serious before I was okay with her moving in with me and my daughter. Generally, they get along pretty well. I told my girlfriend at the very beginning of our relationship that I wasn't looking for a stepmom for my daughter. She's old enough that she doesn't need a new mom. Last weekend, I went camping with one of my friends for 2 days, and my girlfriend stayed home with my daughter. I knew my daughter was going to a party on Saturday, and I already agreed to it. But when I came back from my camping trip, my daughter complained that my girlfriend told her she had to wash her makeup off and do one that's less provocative before she could leave the house. I got angry at my girlfriend and told her she wasn't allowed to order my daughter around, and she wasn't allowed to prevent her from doing anything that I had already agreed to. We had a huge fight, and since then, we have barely talked. AITA in this situation. Edit, my daughter is 16. She doesn't need a babysitter, and my girlfriend isn't my daughter's stepmother or guardian. She's my girlfriend. That's it. Relevant comments. Was your girlfriend left as a caregiver? Just in the house together. My daughter stayed home alone for several days before, and she doesn't need to be watched or parented 24/7. People accuse him of letting his daughter dress too provocatively, or say that he doesn't know how she dresses when he's not around. I follow her on Instagram, so I know how she dresses everywhere. I worked hard to build a relationship with my daughter where she can feel comfortable expressing herself, whether it's through clothes, hair, or makeup, without having to fear any judgment or criticism from me. Obviously, if she wears something that I think is too much, I'll comment on it, but I'm not a prude who doesn't let his daughter wear skirts or crop tops, etc. OOP clarifies that his girlfriend is 28, and he is 33. Update. Firstly, I just want to say that I didn't expect my post to blow up the way it did. I read through all of the comments, despite there being so many, and I really appreciate everyone's input. Unfortunately, this update is not exactly a happy one. The day after my post, I tried to have a serious, lengthy discussion about boundary and our relationship in general, just like many of you suggested. But the discussion got pretty heated, and she said that the reason she asked my daughter to wash her makeup off was because she looked like a slut. For me, that was just too much. I asked her to leave my house, and by the evening she had moved out. Right now, I don't know if I did the right thing or not because I truly love my girlfriend, but I just couldn't let anyone talk that way about my daughter. Since she moved out, we haven't talked at all other than her texting me saying she'll pick up the rest of her things next week. So again, I appreciate everyone who commented on my original post. It seems like I'll have to remain a single dad for a bit longer. Relevant comments. I had to include this one because OOP is a great dad and shut some SHT down. Firstly, I do know how she looks when she goes out. And trust me, clothing doesn't make you a single parent, poor choices do. I became a father at 17, and my then girlfriend was a typical tomboy. It wasn't her appearance that caused the pregnancy, it was my stupidity. And that's something that I am teaching my daughter, not that she can't wear skirts.